Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Salenti, and it's Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. And we have with us the man of men when it comes to a lot of things, but particularly what used to be called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights that have been totally destroyed by the clowns that people call presidents and Congress, and not only with the Trump guy, but one after another before him. Judge Andrew Napolitano. And Judge, these are very dangerous times we're living in. And what's going on with this bombing, these killing of people in these boats, 1,500 miles away from America, under the BS line that they're narco-terrorists. And it's not even making the news anymore. And it's one after another. They're killing these people, innocent people that have not been proven guilty of anything and have not committed a crime against America. But they're killing them right in open waters in front of everybody's eyes, and there's no outrage.
You think
coming out.
You put your finger right on it. The American public has become indifferent to it. The killing is so rampant now, as well as the intentional failure to rescue. The the incident that I talk about in my article this week, which you were kind enough to publish in the Trends Journal, tells of 8 survivors in the Pacific Ocean, and the Defense Department no longer rescues them. It calls in the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard took 44 hours to arrive at the scene. Its plane intentionally flew from Los Angeles north to Lake Tahoe, west to Sacramento, south to Costa Rica, west to the killing site, 650 miles at sea. This is murder. This is an intentional delaying of the legal obligation to rescue the survivors. Why? Because the government has decided it's better for them to drown than for it to have to defend its behavior in a federal courtroom, because it already has 2 lawsuits against it, one by the survivors of an attack in September, and the other by the families of those who did not survive the same attack in September. What were those people? Fishermen. What were they in? A fishing boat. Did the Department of Defense have any evidence to give to the Department of Justice of drugs being transported? 0.
With all due respect, don't call it a Department of Justice. There's no justice anymore. Hey, it's only just us. I'm the president. I'm the Congress. Just us. The rest of you don't count.
Bill Safire, the late, great, sometimes libertarian essayist for the New York Times, used to call it, this is back in the Carter years, the Department of Political Justice.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you mean Jimmy Carter? Yeah, that little, the guy that gave us the Mujahideen. Oh, everybody forgot that, huh?
Yes.
Who was that arrogant guy that was he was from Poland? What the hell was his name? His daughter now is on MSNBC.
Brzezinski.
Yeah. People forget about this, that the Taliban was taking over Afghanistan. The Russians were trying to keep the government that was in place. And back then, people have no idea about this. Afghanistan was a very advanced society, particularly in the arts and culture. And the Taliban's coming in, and that little slime ball, Brzezinski, an arrogant piece of crap, may he rot in hell, and Carter, they create the Mujahideen. Oh, you mean better known today as Al-Qaeda? Oh, well, what was that guy? Osama bin Laden was involved in that? Oh, but everybody forgot about that. And they look up to the peanut farmer, little peanut craphead. But anyway, going back to your article, this has been going on forever. America kills whoever they want, whenever they want, in any country they want, for any reason they want. And as you keep noting over and over again, they do it in violation of the Constitution.
Right.
Which Congress, right, is supposed to.
I feel like a broken record, Gerald. Over and over again, the same things just keep happening. When the government devolves to this level of lawlessness, which I call nihilism, an acceptance of no values, a rejection of universal right and wrong, a belief that only might makes right. It doesn't take very long for that stuff abroad to come home. We already have seen it here in Minneapolis, and we'll probably begin to see it elsewhere, wherever this personal private army of Kristi Noem and Donald Trump goes, will be killing in lawlessness, because the philosophy that animates this government is one that rejects moral standards. That's nihilism. It rejects commonly accepted moral standards. A 16-year-old with a basic education knows more about right and wrong than these people that are running the government.
You know, you said about, building up the military and all. We are going to have peace through strength. We will not have to fight. Oh, that came out of the fat mouth lying Trump when he was running for president back on October 12th, 2024. We want to have peace on earth all over. Oh, he lied about that on September 25th, 2024. How about when he was elected, when he finally got elected, when he got inaugurated a year ago, January 20th, 2025? I want immediate peace. 5 days later, I'm moving quickly to end wars, settle conflicts, and restore the planet to peace. I want peace. How about a piece of crap? How can you get away with these lies one after another? Oh, and as you know, because you've been so kind, generous, and caring, you come to the peace rallies that we put on each year at Occupy Peace. So these aren't just empty words coming out of my mouth or your mouth. We're doing everything we can for peace. And this guy lies. He's just a piece of crap.
Well,
and there's no outrage.
Two of the worst lies he told last night were that Iran has the nuclear capability of delivering a nuclear weapon to Europe, to attack Europe and to attack the United States. Now, his own director of national intelligence testified under oath that Iran ceased developing nuclear weapons in 2003, 13 years ago, and has not resumed doing it. When he was told this on Air Force One, he basically said, I don't care what she says. I believe they have nuclear weapons. He believes that because Benjamin Netanyahu told him that. He is the tool of Netanyahu doing exactly what Netanyahu wants. I believe our friend Ray McGovern disagrees. Our friends Larry Johnson, Scott Ritter, Jeff Sachs, and Colonel McGregor and Colonel Wilkerson agree with this. The negotiations are a farce. Netanyahu talked to Trump weeks ago back at Mar-a-Lago around New Year's Eve into attacking Iran, and the decision is already made. Look, he has between 1/3 and 1/2 of the United States Navy surrounding Iran. If a conflagration breaks out somewhere else in the world and the Navy is needed, forget about it. It'll take them days to get wherever they're needed. He's spending billions and billions of dollars with those ships sitting there. He has 25,000 sailors. On the Gerald R. Ford, there are 5,000 sailors. And guess what doesn't work on the Gerald R. Ford?
Yeah.
The toilets.
Yep.
What a mess.
Yeah.
Well, it cost $13 billion to build this monstrosity, and they didn't construct I don't want to get too graphic, the drainage pipes from the toilets. When one toilet stops, they all stop. Welcome to the United States Navy.
Yep. The toilets don't work because they're just pieces of shit.
So the point is, Trump is lying to Congress. On this point, the Democrats cheered him as well as the Republicans because the Zionists have the best government money can buy, and they bought the government. From Trump on down to about 90% of the members of Congress, not Thomas Massie and not a few others, but the overwhelming majority of them in both parties.
Well, there's an article in this week's Trends Journal. Trump is Netanyahu's puppet. And that's
I don't know who wrote it, but I agree with them 100%.
That's Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who was the Assistant Secretary of State, Treasury Secretary, rather, under Reagan. And as far as AIPAC goes, there's one article after another in your Trends Journal about how they're controlling basically a lot of the voting in the United States by giving tens of millions of dollars to candidates that they want to beat the candidates that they don't like.
Sometimes they don't know what the hell they're doing. In New Jersey, they spent $2.5 million in a Democratic primary against a former congressman named Tom Malinowski, who voted in favor of the expenditures to Israel, but said we have to scrutinize them carefully. Because he said we have to scrutinize them carefully, AIPAC spent $2.5 million in a small off-year Democratic primary. Off-year because this is to replace Mikey Sherrill, the Democratic congresswoman who became the governor of New Jersey. As a result of their defeating Malinowski by just a few votes, a hard left, anti-Zionist AOC progressive got the nomination.
You know, we talk about Venezuela, right? Here's an article in your Trends Journal. Connor Massey say they'll force a vote on war powers resolution amid risk of war with Iran. So what do you think is going to happen with that?
Well, if Thomas Massey gets 2 more Republicans, the House of Representatives will vote to deny Trump the power to wage war on Iran. Then it falls to Rand Paul's hands, but it's largely symbolic because Trump will veto this legislation and they don't have 2/3 to overcome it. But it forces everybody in the Congress to go on record as being in favor of a war against a country that poses not a scintilla of threat to the U.S. national security. So
remember you were talking about Trump before and saying what we have to do against Iran because of the nuclear weapons. Isn't this the crap that spewed out of his mouth when he bombed them last year?
Oh,
that
listen, he claimed he obliterated. He must have said it 2 or 3 dozen times with various forms of the word obliterate their nuclear capabilities. But he says, I understand that they want to return. Like they could return even if they wanted to overnight. This is absurd. This is preposterous. No matter what the Iranians offer, the Americans, in pursuit of the wishes of their Israeli masters, will reject it. I'm telling you, the negotiations are a fraud. They were concocted only to give the toilet-free Gerald R. Ford time to arrive. Now, it's in the eastern Mediterranean. It's off the coast of Israel. So it enables the United States to attack from the west and from the south, where the USS Abraham Lincoln is. McGregor and Ritter tell me the U.S. is in for an eye-opening surprise, that the Chinese and the Russian radar will not allow the American planes, missiles, and drones to escape detection and destruction.
You know, by the way, before I want to move on to another, stay on that, but there's another article in this week's Trends Journal. AIPAC 2.0. Pro-Israel PAC looks to influence Democratic House primaries in U.S. So we have all the details there and the money they're spending. But going on to back to the Venezuela. In our economic update in this week's Trends Journal, we talk about tonight President Trump will deliver a State of the Union address at the U.S. Capitol. According to a new Reuters Ipsos poll, 61% of Americans say that Trump has become, quote, erratic with age, which essentially means he's out of his mind. Now, I'm the same age as Trump. The older you get, the smarter you get. I'm not the same stupid as I was as a young kid. My father, may he rest in peace, were eating dinner one time. I'm about 17 years old. He said to me, son, they say that youth is wasted on the young. He took a couple more bites. He looked at me. He said, they were talking about you.
Oh, jeez.
Again, as a kid, you don't know anything. Yeah. So it's not about erratic with age. The guy's out of his mind. It has nothing to do with your age. And he's been like that for a long time. But we go on to say about the other polls, about Sunday found that only 39% of Americans approved Trump's handling of his job as president, while 47%, quote, strongly disapprove. On the economic side, the NPR PBS Marist poll has Trump's approval on the economy at 36%. All right? Now, and just 32% of Americans approve of Trump's handling inflation, which he keeps BSing about how great he is. But here's the deal. As we say, when all else fails, they take you to war. Therefore, with President Trump down in the polls and our forecast for the equity markets and economic danger ahead, we are very concerned that the U.S. will ramp up war against Iran. So here's the deal, Judge. The last time he bombed Iran, it was over the weekend when the equity markets were closed. When he kidnapped the president of Venezuela and his wife, Maduro, he did it on the weekend when the markets were closed. This weekend may be the weekend of launching an attack against Iran.
Could very well be. These pilots prefer to do it when there's no moon, and the moon is shining this weekend, at least in that part of the world. But you're right to know that he prefers to do this when the markets are closed, but he can't do it in just a few hours or even a few days because Iran is enormous. It's the size of Europe. So I don't know what he thinks he can accomplish. Yesterday's banner headline in the Washington Post, meaning this is what the CIA wants us to believe, was that General Kane told the president, we can't accomplish your goals, whereupon Trump issued a long piece. So obviously it was leaked either by the Pentagon or by the CIA. Usually the CIA uses the Washington Post as its mouthpiece. We all know that. Trump issued a statement saying, don't believe it, it's not true. If you look at the clips from last night, at the look on General Kane's face when Trump said they're going to bomb Europe and the United States, it was one of utter shock and disbelief.
It's a total lie.
He knows it's untrue.
Judge, people have no idea. We're taught to hate Iran, for our entire life. This is one of my books, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. I write about how he became a trend forecaster. Back in 1978, when the Iranian Revolution began, and they taught us to hate Iran when they were overthrowing the Shah. And 99.9% of the people had no idea of how the United States and England overthrew the democratically elected government of Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran in 1953, because Mossadegh had the nerve to say that oil in Iran does not belong to Anglo-Iranian Oil, better known today as BP, or Standard Oil, better known today as ExxonMobil. It belongs to the Iranian people. No, it doesn't. And what did they do? They brought in the Shah and the Savak, the secret police that made the SS look good.
Yes.
People had no idea about it. They taught us to hate Iran when the people were trying to overthrow the Shah. And they keep doing it. They did it with Russia, too. Remember when we were kids, they had us hiding under a desk in case an atom bomb went off.
Right.
They taught us to hate Russia all our life.
Right. We were taught to despise Nikita Khrushchev. Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is serious. Judge, thank you for all that you're doing. Who do you have coming up on Judging Freedom?
I have your big admirer, the great Phil Giraldi, Aaron Mate, and Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Tomorrow, Colonel McGregor, Colonel Wilkerson.
Wow.
And for the second time this week, because he too believes the trigger is about to be pulled, Scott Ritter.
Well, thank you so much for what you're doing. And thank you for being on. And everybody, again, go to Judging Freedom, because the judge has people on there saying things that you're not going to hear anywhere else, particularly, as you mentioned, the Washington Post, owned and operated by the CIA, probably. Oh, Bezos owns it. I forgot. Oh, and they just cut a third of their staff. So you're really getting nothing from them. But Judging Freedom, you're getting all you can. Thanks, Judge.
Thank you, Gerald. All the best to you, my dear friend.